Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Prime. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. In the next 1 hour, we'll bring you the latest from India and across the world, starting with Prime Minister Modi's address at Nascom's Technology and Leadership Forum, wherein he stressed on how India will further rise in becoming Atmanirbhar in the innovation and tech space, and how the government has complete faith in the youth of the country and is therefore doing all it can to nourish the startup ecosystem. We'll also get you more on what the Prime Minister is going to do in Tamil Nadu today, updates from the Foreign Secretary's visit to Moscow. Remember, he will be meeting the Deputy Foreign Minister there, and of course the latest from business and sports. But first, take a look at the big news that we are tracking at this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses Nascom's Technology and Leadership Forum, urges tech industry to have an imprint of Make for India in their solutions to be global technology leaders. Says opening up of map and geospatial data for private sector is revolutionary and reformist step for the tech industry. India all set to take one more step towards becoming Atmanirbhar in the energy sector. Prime Minister to lay the foundation stone for key projects of the oil and gas sector in Tamil Nadu, and also he will dedicate them to the nation. A delegation of foreign envoys arrive in Srinagar for a 2-day visit in the Union Territory. Envoys interact with locals and are briefed about local government initiatives. In international news, US President Joe Biden pitches in his stimulus bill in Wisconsin, affirms that by the end of July, United States will have over 600 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine, urges Americans to get any coronavirus vaccine. In Myanmar, opponents of the military coup, including celebrities, veteran activists and students, reject an army assertion that there is public support for overthrowing elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi. Police files an additional charge against Suu Kyi. And in sports, top seed Ashley Barty suffers a shock in the Australian Open Women's quarterfinal, loses to 25th seed Karolina Muchova in the men's singles quarterfinal. Medvedev beats Rublev in the straight sets, while Nadal will clash with Tsitsipas. Well, let's begin this broadcast with the big news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today addressed the 29th edition of Nascom's Technology and Leadership Forum. This is a vibrant platform that brings together key leaders from the world of technology and innovation. Now, the event is host to 1,600 participants from more than 30 countries, and more than 30 products are showcased during the 3 days of talks. Now, the Prime Minister said that to become a global technology leader, we need to focus more on the Indian IT sector, institution building. It is the flagship event of the National Association of Software and Service Companies. The theme for this year's event is Shaping the Future Towards a Better Normal.
well, the Prime किया है कि हमारी टेक्नोलॉजी ज्यादा से ज्यादा मेड इन इंडिया हो। मेरा आपसे आग्रह है कि आपके सॉल्यूशन में भी अब मेक फॉर इंडिया की छाप होनी चाहिए। अगर हमें मल्टीपल डोमेन्स में इंडियन टेक्नोलॉजी लीडरशिप की ओर आगे बढ़ना है, इस मोमेंटम को बनाए रखना है, तो हमें अपनी कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस के नए मापदंड बनाने होंगे। हमें अपने आप से स्पर्धा करनी ही होगी। ग्लोबल टेक्नोलॉजी लीडर बनने के लिए इनोवेशन और एंटरप्राइज के साथ ही भारतीय आईटी सेक्टर को कल्चर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस और इंस्टीट्यूशन बिल्डिंग उस पर भी उतना ही ध्यान देना होगा।
Well, the Prime Minister referred to the recently released guidelines on geospatial data. He mentioned that the government has taken steps to develop the IT sector by continuing reforms in many areas of the country.
भारत का जो विशाल डोमेस्टिक मार्केट है, उसका लाभ आईटी इंडस्ट्री को नहीं मिल पाया। इस वजह से भारत में डिजिटल डिवाइड बढ़ता गया। एक तरह से हम कहते हैं और हम कह सकते हैं, दिया तले अंधेरा वाली बात हमारे सामने थी। हमारी सरकार की नीतियां और निर्णय गवाह है कि कैसे बीते वर्षों में हमारी सरकार ने इस अप्रोच को बदल दिया है। साथियों, हमारी
Prime Minister said that during the last 6 years, the government has successfully tried to get out of the files and reach the dashboard. Now, many steps have been taken for the improvement.
गवर्नमेंट प्रोक्योरमेंट को लेकर पहले कैसे कैसे सवाल उठते थे, ये हम में से कौन है जो नहीं जानता है। हम भी तो चर्चा में वही बोलते थे, हम भी वही सुनते थे, हम भी चिंता व्यक्त करते थे। अब आज डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी का उपयोग करते हुए पूरी पारदर्शिता के साथ यानी GEM के जरिए खरीद की जा रही है। आज ज्यादातर सरकारी टेंडर ऑनलाइन मंगाए जाते हैं। हमारे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर से जुड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स हो या गरीबों के घर, हर प्रोजेक्ट्स की जियो टैगिंग की जा रही है ताकि वो समय पर पूरे किया जा सके। यहां तक कि आज गांवों के घरों की मैपिंग ड्रोन से की जा रही है। टैक्स से जुड़े मामलों में भी ह्यूमन इंटरफेस को कम किया जा रहा है। फेसलेस व्यवस्था विकसित की जा रही है। टेक्नोलॉजी से सामान्य जन को तेज, सटीक और पारदर्शी व्यवस्था देना ही तो मिनिमम गवर्नमेंट, मैक्सिमम गवर्नेंस, मेरी दृष्टि से वही उसका मतलब है।
All right, to understand more about the significance of India's role in the technology and innovation space, I'm joined by Mr. Himanshu Vats, who's a senior economic journalist. Mr. Vats, thank you very much for joining us on DD India. So first thing, the Prime Minister talked about how India has emerged as a leader in the tech and innovation space, especially during the Corona and the post-Corona time. And, he talked about how something as basic as working from home to now opening up the geospatial sector for the private sector. How India has really, made this journey at a time when the world was dealing with a pandemic. So really, India has emerged as one of the key leaders in the innovation and tech space.
Yes, that's been a remarkable achievement in India because at a time when the world was completely shutting down and there was nervousness, India adopted the correct policies. First, doing what it could to arrest the spread of the virus. And then, there were so many innovative solutions that came, whether it was in transportation, whether it is in work from home. And, this was a real test for our communication backbone because if so many people are on a video call, every office, and office work from home requires at times transfer of very heavy data files. So this system was completely tested and it passed with flying colors. And the government also took the initiative to not just sit and wait for things to get okay, like many countries, including some developed countries did, that okay, now Corona is calm, we'll do nothing. But India actually went ahead, undertook various reforms. And this particular reform, the recent liberalization of spatial mapping and all, that is a very, very far-reaching change. Because, if you look at the history of IT development in India, it started in the late 90s when the year 2000 was approaching and, the computer systems did not have a 4-digit date line. So India got a huge opportunity and, you had the emergence of these Bangalore-based companies like Infosys, Wipro and a few others. But, they made a good amount of money. India got recognized as a world leader in that. But things did not move fast enough beyond that. we had to move from back end to front end because the real business, real innovation, the real challenge and reward are at the front end. And one of the reasons for that was that nothing was available for the common man, for the common scientist to innovate, to play around with, which has now changed completely. If you look at this recent reform of allowing private sector into mapping, this opens the door for so many new applications, so many new products, which Indians are remarkably good at doing, and they've been doing it for foreign companies. All the major tech companies, or at least many of them, have got Indians as CEOs. And they have not just been imported out of somewhere; they have risen within the ranks. That is the strength of the Indian IT engineer, and there's a huge crop of them, which comes out of Indian engineering colleges and software institutes every year. But they did not have the wherewithal to, what to do with their knowledge, what to do with their expertise. And now with these reforms, at the startup level, where a bright engineering student coming out of IIT or many other institutes has a smart idea, he finds a smart financer, and if even 1 in 10 succeed, it's remarkable. And if 1 in 1,000 become a Google or a Facebook, then it is a global game changer and a very good step. So, this is to be genuinely applauded, lauded, and carried forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mr. Watts, this is something that the Prime Minister and the government has also always emphasized upon, which is the role of youngsters in really, nurturing and nourishing the startup ecosystem. And the government has always come out and said that, we are here for you. We will, ease out, the system and sort of pave the way for startups to emerge and be successful. How far do you think this helps in really, strengthening the economy?
See, role of youngster is very, very important. If you look at WhatsApp, it was started by a youngster, and who is one of the global high-profile people today, because that is the age when you are not risk-averse. The moment you get into your 40s. And
Appointed District Development Council members, social activists, stakeholders in the hospitality sector, as well as newspaper editors. Now, the group of envoys will leave for Jammu on Thursday. The group, comprising almost 24 members, will get a briefing from top officials of the Indian Army, and it would also receive first-hand information from the Jammu and Kashmir administration. Later on Thursday, ambassadors would visit Jammu, where they would be meeting the Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha, besides some of the DDC members and representatives of some social organizations. Now, this will be the 4th visit by any foreign envoy group to Jammu and Kashmir in the last 2 years. Well, my colleague Salman joins us now to get the latest from Jammu and Kashmir. Salman, again, an effort to really understand the grassroots situation and, the grassroots democracy that has really, emerged in Jammu and Kashmir after the abrogation of Articles 370 and 35A. What is the latest on the foreign envoy's visit today?
As you have already mentioned, they did visit Magam, which is a small town here in Budgam district, and it's just 15 to 20 kilometers from Srinagar. They interacted with the civilians, I think some college students also there, and also DDC members, which are local bodies, recently elected local bodies. So definitely the government, and currently they are at Sher-e-Kashmir SKICC, where they are meeting with DDC members and the mayor and other local representatives. So definitely the effort from the government is that they want to showcase their recent successes, in which they think the local body elections have been huge successful, because that will bring new leadership forward, and also that also bolsters the image that India is doing. India is a democratic country, and it will achieve its political objectives through democratic processes. So definitely there is an effort in that direction. And also there have been some institutional mechanisms which have been institutionalized by the UT government, such as grievance redressal mechanisms, and there have been efforts to go to the village and seek input and feedback from the villagers in the Back to Village program. So definitely those are the things that they are trying to highlight. And moreover, I think the context is also important, that the last piece of restriction that had been imposed was the high-speed internet. That has been restored very recently, and now since the COVID is also over, the local body elections. So definitely the government is feeling that the conditions which had been disturbed after August 5, 2019, have been restored to normalcy to a large extent, and this is what they want to showcase. I think some of the countries which had earlier sent their envoys, I think some of the countries are also included in this list. So I think it's also to showcase that the past 1 year, because as far as I remember, the last delegation did visit Jammu and Kashmir in February last year. So definitely it's something that they show that there's a natural progression towards normalcy and development here.
Right. Of course, Salman, the Home Minister has also always stressed upon the fact that Jammu and Kashmir will be given statehood as and when the time is appropriate. But I'll come back to the point of strengthening grassroots democracy, because we did see a lot of overwhelming visuals coming in when the DDC election took place, and people came out in very large numbers despite the cold weather. They came out, they voted, and now they have their own representative from among them. How has that really progressed in the last few months?
I think most of the DDC members have now, they're very new. It's almost only 1 month since the results have been declared, but it has definitely given a new lease of life to the democratic aspirations, in the sense that the people can have representatives where they can go and to solve their local problems, and then also voice their feedback. And I think the elections have thrown up and have been successful from kind of voting percentage that they witnessed, and also the kind of enthusiasm that they have generated before the elections and post election results. So people are generally very positive about these elections, and I think that the government is also trying to. That's why in this iteration of this visit by foreign delegates, most of I think the recently elected local body elections and the members that have been selected in these are being showcased. In fact, they are the cornerstone of the strategy to show that this is what we are trying to do, and these are the people who have been elected through a popular vote, and they are trying to solve their problems of their own regions in their own ways.
Right, Salman, thanks very much for joining us with the latest from Jammu and Kashmir. So a group of envoys from 24 countries is on a visit to Jammu and Kashmir right now. They are in Srinagar. Tomorrow they head to Jammu and they are meeting the local leaders, the civil society people, and of course we'll get you the latest from the valley as and when we get it. Now moving on to our national prime segment. Now, India is all set to take another step towards becoming Atmanirbhar in the energy sector, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi will virtually lay the foundation of key projects of the oil and gas sector in Tamil Nadu and dedicate them to the nation today. Now, the Prime Minister will dedicate to the country the Ramnathpuram Thoothukudi natural gas pipeline and gasoline desulfurization unit at the Chennai Petroleum Corporation Limited in Manali. He will also lay the foundation stone of the Kaveri Basin refinery at Nagapattinam. These projects will result in the substantial socio-economic benefits and will boost India's march towards becoming self-reliant in the energy sector. Now, the Governor and Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu and the Union Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas will also be present on the occasion. Now, my colleague Arun Sharma joins us to help us understand the significance of these projects. Arun, again, a greater emphasis, a greater stress on India becoming Atmanirbhar in the energy sector. And of course, with the Prime Minister dedicating to the nation these three projects, it really moves towards that direction.
Absolutely, Shreya. On one side, these projects will help India become Atmanirbhar or self-reliant. So on the other side, these projects will also play a key role in, as far as, becoming or primarily helping the environmental aspect as well. When we talk about the Ramanathapuram and the Thoothukudi project, the natural gas pipeline of 143 kilometers worth 700 crore rupees. Now, it's a key project as far as natural gas pipeline is concerned. We know this fact that in January 2021, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, dedicated to the nation the Mangaluru-Kochi natural gas pipeline. So idea of government is that as to how can in all across the country the natural gas pipeline network can be created so that India can achieve the vision of one nation, one gas grid. And the benefit of this natural gas pipeline is that because there is huge demand as far as CNG and PNG gas connections are concerned in our country. Now, as of now, when we talk about the CNG, there are close to 20 to 100 CNG stations all across the country. The focus of the government is that how can in next 5 to 6 years, the number of these CNG stations in our country can be increased to 10,000. Now, till 2014, when we talk about the PNG gas connections, there were close to 20 lakh PNG gas connections. But now in 2020, 2021, they're close to, 76 lakh gas connection, the PNG gas connections primarily. And the focus of the government is that how can in next 6 to 7 years, close to 5 crore PNG gas connections can be provided. So there's a huge demand as far as, the CNG aspect, the PNG aspect is concerned. And in that context, what the focus of the government is as to how can we strengthen our natural gas pipeline infrastructure in our country so that on one side, one nation, one gas grid can be achieved. So on the other side, the energy and of course the energy economy part and of course the environmental part can go hand in hand. So that's the reason today's project of Ramanathapuram and Thoothukudi is going to be very much significant as far as clean energy is concerned and as far as the India's vision of one nation, one gas grid is concerned. Shreya?
Right, Arun, one of the key highlights, and like you spoke about these projects, is the fact that they are environmental friendly. And we know that the Prime Minister has always stressed upon the fact that India is doing its bit and contributing to a healthier environment. Recently he also addressed the World Sustainable Development Summit, where he talked about India's role, in the new world order and how it really counters environmental challenges. So really, India's role in sort of contributing to a cleaner, healthier environment getting bigger and bigger by the day.
Absolutely. So when you talk and look at the second important project at Manali, that's in Tamil Nadu, and of course the aspect is that it's the project by the Chennai Petroleum Corporation Limited. It's a desulfurization process plant. So primarily the gasoline that we are using as of now, it has sulfur content. So this plant will help us in removing the sulfur content from the gasoline part, and we'll get much more efficient and much more greener gasoline in nature. And as India's commitment is very much firm, as far as its global commitments are concerned, that India is all set to reduce its carbon footprints or the carbon emissions level by 35% by 2030. So in all these aspects, these small steps taken by the government, that means creating infrastructure that is green and clean in nature. Number two, achieving the targets, the global commitments that India is looking forward to achieving and adhering to that part. Third important aspect is that how can alternate source of energy or primarily the cleaner and greener source of energy can be much more created, and how can demand for that be created, and how can infrastructure for that be put in place. That is what the focus of the government is. So as of now, we have seen that government is targeting to create 35,000 kilometers of natural gas pipeline all across the country. You'll be surprised to know that till 2014, from 2014 and in last 27 years, only 15,000 kilometers of natural gas pipeline network was created. But if you look at in this last 6.5 years, this fact that a natural gas pipeline of more than 16,000 kilometers are already, the work is in place. So we can understand this fact that how government is focusing upon this big mission of, one nation and one gas grid. And as far as the environmental aspect is concerned, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has already given the mantra of one nation, one gas grid, one sun, one world and one grid as far as solar energy is concerned, and India is also working ahead in the direction of International Solar Alliance, whereby more than 90 countries are the signatory and the member countries of the International Solar Alliance. So yes, India is taking a leadership role as far as fulfilling its commitment, primarily global commitments as far as environmental part is concerned. So on the other side, India is also focusing upon the aspect that as to how economy and environment can go hand in hand. So that is what the complete focus of these projects are also when Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicates to the nation these key infra projects that are related to oil and gas sector.
Right. Right. In fact, if we see the third project, which is the Kaveri Basin Refinery, that also will produce diesel which meets the BS6 specification. So another step towards a healthier environment. Thanks very much, Arun, for joining us with those inputs. Remember, the government is doing its bit towards a cleaner environment. Now we have to do our bit. So switch that light off in your room if you don't need it. Now, in other news, the Bombay High Court today granted a 3 weeks transit anticipatory bail to Mumbai-based advocate and activist Nikita Jacob, who is facing a non-bailable warrant issued by a Delhi court in connection with the farmers' protest toolkit case. Justice P.D. Naik granted relief to Nikita Jacob after hearing her plea. After a warrant was issued by a Delhi court, Nikita moved the Bombay High Court seeking bail for 4 weeks and a copy of the FIR in the interim. On Monday, Delhi police said the controversial toolkit on farmers' protest, which was tweeted and subsequently deleted by global climate activist Greta Thunberg, was created by Nikita Jacob and her associates Shantanu and Disha Ravi. Now, Disha was arrested by the Delhi police from Bengaluru last Saturday in connection with the case. Well, my colleague Yogesh Sheetal joins us from Mumbai. Yogesh, help us understand really what exactly a transit anticipatory bail means.
As far as transit anticipatory bail is concerned, particularly transit anticipatory bail has not been mentioned in the CRPC, but anticipatory bail has been mentioned under a section of the CRPC. That is a bail which basically an accused applied in the competent court, whether in Sessions Court or in the High Court, in the anticipation of being arrested. And since this case has been registered in Delhi, and also we know that non-bailable warrant has been issued by the Tis Hazari Court in Delhi, so the appropriate court where anticipatory bail has to be filed is the Sessions Court in Delhi or the High Court in Delhi. But the applicant Nikita Jacob is a permanent resident of Mumbai, and that's the reason why transit anticipatory bail has been filed and why it was also considered by the Bombay High Court. So overall, the transit anticipatory bail has been granted for 3 weeks to Nikita Jacob. She has requested the court to grant for 4 weeks, but 3 weeks transit bail remand has been, transit anticipatory bail has been granted. Now, what would be the further course of action? See, in this period, she can move to Delhi to a competent court, as I told you, that Sessions Court or in the Delhi High Court. She may file a plea to get this relief extended in the court, or she may also file whatever the contents, whatever the materials in this case are concerned. Because in the Bombay High Court, the Justice P.D. Naik has made it very clear that as far as merits of this case is concerned, the Bombay High Court is not the competent authority to hear the plea on merit. But only anticipatory bail portion was heard, and that is basically on that ground the relief has been granted. We know that also previously yesterday, Aurangabad bench of the Bombay High Court had granted similar relief for the 10 days to Shantanu Muluk. These both are accused, and against both the Delhi court has recently issued non-bailable warrant. So today, since relief has been provided, so Delhi police cannot arrest them as of now, and after in the meantime, the both accused will move to Delhi and the competent court in Delhi, and then the further hearing would be taking place there.
All right, Yogesh, thanks very much for joining us with those inputs. So Nikita Jacob in the toolkit case has been provided with a transit anticipatory bail. That's the latest from the toolkit case. Moving on, Ethiopian Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Demek Mekonnen Hassen arrived in New Delhi on Tuesday on a 4-day official visit to India. Now, he will hold key meetings with the Indian leadership and discuss the way forward to further strengthen bilateral relations between the two countries. So far, 58 bodies have been recovered in the Chamoli disaster. 2 more dead bodies were found last night. Now, 31 out of the 58 bodies have been identified so far, while no information has been received about the remaining 27 bodies. It is believed that a total of 204 people are still missing in this unfortunate incident, whose search is still going on. Evacuation work for the trapped people is going on in the Tapovan tunnel. So far, 145 meters have been excavated. The NDRF team has reached the vertical tunnel under the main tunnel through the vertical drill. Now, there is also a possibility of the employees of Tapovan power project getting stranded. Water has been pumped out from the tunnel by pumping. Search and rescue operations are also underway in the Tapi village along with Reni. Now, let's get you the latest data on the COVID-19 status from across the country with yet another significant achievement. India's active cases are declining on a daily basis. Now, the total active cases of the country now comprise only 1.25% of the total cases. 323 new active cases were recorded in the last 24 hours, while 11,833 new recoveries were registered in the same period. National recovery rate is at 97.33%, and that continues to be one of the highest globally. The continued high rise in the recoveries has led to progressively improving national recovery rate. The total recovered cases are 1,644,858. The gap between active cases and recovered cases is also continuously increasing. And after that, let's now take a look at what's making news across the world. Let's now take a look at the global COVID-19 numbers. The tally of COVID-19 cases worldwide has surpassed 11,32,576. The total recoveries stand at 8,48,50,103. The deadly virus has claimed over 24,29,000 lives globally. US continues to remain the worst affected from COVID-19, where more than 2,83,81,000 cases have been registered. The country has reported over 4,99,000 deaths due to COVID-19. The Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro will halt COVID-19 vaccinations from Wednesday due to a lack of shots. Now, they said that the vaccinations will only begin when a new lot of shots arrives, with delivery not expected until next week. The halt to vaccinations illustrates the patchy nature of Brazil's vaccine rollout, which has been blighted with delays and lack of supplies. In a study released on Sunday, scientists have found 7 variants of the novel coronavirus in United States with a mutation in the same position in their genes. Louisiana State University Health Sciences Center said that public should not have any serious concerns yet if these 7 variants with the same mutation could make the virus more contagious. It further said that for an individual patient, it's almost certain that these differences are not going to mean anything clinically, although it cannot be ruled out. A massive testing campaign has started in the northern French city of Dunkirk as the variant that was first detected in Great Britain spreads rapidly in the region. Now, residents of the city as well as of neighbouring towns of Bourges, Capelbrook and Wormout can get tested for free in testing centres set up specifically to counter the variant. Preliminary results show about 10% of the population is infected, with 80% of those infected people testing positive for the variant that was first detected in Britain. Meanwhile, the French government has so far decided not to declare a local lockdown or close schools, and 2,400 additional Moderna vaccine doses have been allocated to Dunkirk to speed up the vaccinations there. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte called on the country to respect a nighttime curfew, saying it was still needed to fight the coronavirus pandemic despite legal order to drop it. The court earlier stated that the measure lacked a legal basis, while Rutte maintained that the curfew was needed to prevent a surge in infections due to more contagious new mutations of the virus. Rutte's coronavirus policy was dealt with a major blow when a court said that his government had failed to make clear why it was necessary to use emergency powers at this stage of the pandemic. The court said it would rule later whether the curfew should remain in place until the appeal hearing, which is to be held as soon as possible. Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon on Tuesday said that students in Scotland will begin returning to schools from the 22nd of February, but the move would mean wider COVID-19 lockdown restrictions may have to stay in place longer. Sturgeon announced that a phased return would go ahead as previously planned, with some age groups allowed to return next week and others dependent on the success of that move and data on overall infection rates. Now, the coronavirus pandemic has meant that students have been at home since before Christmas. In other news, a special anti-terrorism court in Bangladesh on Tuesday sentenced 5 people of a banned Islamic terrorist group, including an army fugitive major, to death and another person to life imprisonment in 2015 murder of eminent Bangladeshi-American blogger Avijit Roy. A 42-year-old Bangladeshi-born American citizen, Roy was murdered by Islamic terrorists when he was walking out of a book fair on the 26th of February in 2015 at the University of Dhaka. Now, his wife, Rafida Ahmed, was also injured in this attack. Opponents of Myanmar's military coup, including celebrities, veteran activists and students, rejected an army assertion that there was public support for overthrowing elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi and said that their campaign would not burn out. Protesters are deeply skeptical of the junta's assurances given at a news conference on Tuesday that there would be a fair election and it would hand over power, even as police filed an additional charge against Suu Kyi. The Nobel Peace Laureate, detained since 1st of February coup, now faces a charge of violating a natural disaster management law, as well as charges of illegally importing 6 walkie-talkie radios. At a virtual hearing this week, her next hearing was set for the 1st of March. Meanwhile, United States said it is disturbed by reports of additional criminal charges filed against Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi, who remains detained after the military staged a coup on 1st of February. Suu Kyi's lawyer said the police had filed a second charge of violating a natural disaster management law after she was earlier charged with illegally importing walkie-talkies.
I think it's fair to say that we are disturbed by reports that the military has charged State Counsel Aung San Suu Kyi with additional criminal acts. As we have before, we call on the Burmese military to immediately release all unjustly detained civilian and political leaders, journalists, and human rights activists and other members of civil society, as well as to restore the democratically elected government.
A rocket attack on US-led forces in northern Iraq killed a civilian contractor on Monday and injured a US service member. The rockets landed in and around a military airbase operated by the coalition at Erbil International Airport. The attack, claimed by a little-known group that some Iraqi officials say has links with Iran, raises tensions as Washington explores some degree of detente with Tehran. Now, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the country was outraged by the attack.
Secretary Blinken has reached out to the Kurdistan Regional Government Prime Minister Barzani, and Secretary Austin is speaking with his counterpart to offer assistance with the investigation and to help hold accountable those responsible for this attack, but we have not determined attribution at this point. Diplomacy is a priority with this administration and something that is front and center to our engagement with our global partners around the world, and certainly these calls are evidence of that, but that will always be a part of our strategy as well.
Well, keeping with news from United States, President Joe Biden has pitched in his stimulus bill in Wisconsin. While addressing people at the Wisconsin town hall, President Biden has affirmed that by the end of July, United States will have over 600 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines, which will be enough to vaccinate every single American. While taking questions from Americans on the coronavirus pandemic at Wisconsin, President Biden mentioned about his administration's plans on combating racial disparities in the COVID-19 vaccine distribution. President Biden also shared his plans to combat racial disparities in the vaccine distribution, sending 1 million vaccines a week to community centers, making vaccines available to more than 6,000 pharmacies, mobile vans and units. And he also urged the country to get any coronavirus vaccines that they can get. He also pointed out that the country may be back to normal by next Christmas. Speaking about Trump, US President Joe Biden said any decision to prosecute the former president will be left up to the Department of Justice. White House spokesperson Jen Psaki on Tuesday announced that US President Joe Biden is planning to recalibrate US relations with Saudi Arabia and will communicate through Saudi King Salman bin Abdulaziz rather than the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Psaki said Saudi Arabia has critical self-defense needs and United States will work with the Saudis on this even as we make clear areas where we have disagreements and we have concerns, unquote. And that certainly is a shift from the prior administration.
We're going to recalibrate our relationship with Saudi Arabia, and that President Biden, and one of the questions there was also, just to go back to the context of it, whether he would be speaking with MBS. And part of that is going back to engagement counterpart to counterpart. I don't have a prediction of the timeline on that. Saudi Arabia is in a position where they are defending themselves from threats from the region. They have critical self-defense needs, and we will continue to work with them on those, even as we make clear areas where we have disagreements and where we have concerns. And that's certainly a shift from the approach of the prior administration.
Now, in relation to Israel, Psaki told reporters that President Biden plans a call with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Psaki said that Israel is a country where we have an important strategic security relationship and the team is fully engaged.
His first call with a leader in the region will be with Prime Minister Netanyahu. It will be soon. I don't have an exact day for you, but it is soon. Stay tuned. Israel is, of course, an ally. Israel is a country where we have an important strategic security relationship, and our team is fully engaged. Not at the head of state level quite yet, but very soon. But our team is fully engaged, having constant conversations at many levels with the Israelis.
Now, U.S. Special Envoy for Yemen, Timothy Lendeking, on Tuesday said that U.S. is very aggressively using back channels to communicate with Yemen's Houthi movement. He said that they do have ways of getting messages to the Houthis, and they are using those very channels very aggressively as they are engaging in person with the leadership of the key countries involved. Thousands of protesters took to streets in Barcelona demanding release of rapper Pablo Hasél, who has been arrested by the Spanish police on charges of glorifying terrorism and insulting royalty in his songs. At some places, there were clashes between protesters and riot police when officers tried to disperse the crowd using batons and foam projectiles. Hasél, known for his radical leftist views, missed a deadline last Friday to surrender to the police to serve a 9-month jail term handed down in 2018. Now, Hasél was convicted over lyrics and tweets that included references to the Basque separatist paramilitary group ETA, compared Spanish judges to Nazis, and called former King Juan Carlos a mafia boss. Moving on, thick smoke rose into the sky over the Italian island of Sicily on Tuesday as Europe's highest and most active volcano, Mount Etna, erupted. Lava as a carpet of ash blanketed the streets of Catania. The 3,330-meter-high volcano can burst into spectacular action several times a year, spewing lava and ash high over the Mediterranean island. The last major eruption, remember, was in 1992. Northern Mexico experienced blackouts for a second consecutive day on Tuesday as several power plants faced natural gas supply failures from Texas, where a rare deep freeze has also left millions of users without lights and heat. Rolling power cuts impacted Chihuahua, Coahuila, Trampolis, and Nuevo León, Mexican states that border Texas. About 4.7 million users in northern Mexico lost power on Monday after cold weather froze pipelines and natural gas deliveries from Texas slowed. Now, the freeze also knocked out electricity for more than 2 million customers in Texas. And after that, it's time for stories from the world of sports. All right, my colleague Rukma is getting us the latest from the world of sports. Rukma, over to you.
Thank you very much, Shreya. And viewers, we begin with news from the Australian Open. Carolina Muchova fought back to stun world number 1 Ashley Barty at the Australian Open and reach her maiden Grand Slam semi-final. The Czech 25th seed defeated the home favourite Ashley Barty 1-6, 6-3, 6-2. Barty led by a set and a break but was unable to stop Muchova's comeback. Big serving Jennifer Brady staged a comeback victory over fellow American Jessica Pegula to book an Australian Open semi-final with Carolina Muchova. This 22nd seed finished strongly with a 4-6, 6-2, 6-1 win on Rod Laver Arena and will now face Czech 25th seed Muchova. In the men's singles, Russia's Daniil Medvedev defeated compatriot Andrei Rublev to reach the semi-finals at the Australian Open for the first time. The 4th seed outlasted Rublev 7-5, 6-3, 6-2 as his 8th-ranked opponent struggled at Melbourne Park. Medvedev has won all 11 of his matches against top 10 players since the US Open in September 2020. ATP Finals champion Medvedev goes into the semi-finals on a 19-match unbeaten streak. And in cricket, South African cricketer Faf du Plessis announced his retirement from Test cricket. The 36-year-old made the announcement through a statement on his Instagram page. Du Plessis took over Test captaincy in 2016 and led the side in 36 matches before relinquishing his leadership last January. He ended last year with a knock of 199 against Sri Lanka, his highest score in the format. Du Plessis ends his Test career with 4,163 runs in the longest format, scoring at an average of 40.02, involving 10 centuries and 21 50s. In football, Liverpool put their domestic struggles to a side as they gained the upper hand in the Champions League last 16 tie against RB Leipzig with a 2-0 victory in the first leg at Budapest. 3 successive Premier League defeats led to Reds manager Jurgen Klopp conceding their title defence is over, but they have taken a giant stride towards the quarterfinals of Europe's Premier Club competition. Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane struck in the space of 5 minutes near the start of the second half in an away leg played in Budapest's Puskás Arena because of COVID-19 restrictions. Kylian Mbappe scored a hat-trick as Paris Saint-Germain came from behind to triumph 4-1 at Barcelona on the first leg of the Champions League last 16 tie. Mbappe netted a fine equaliser in the 32nd minute, shortly after Lionel Messi had put Barca ahead with a penalty. Mbappe then gave his side the lead midway through the second half after the ball fell to him in the box. Moise Kean continued his resurgence, heading at the far post to put the League One champions in control of the tie. With Barca looking to pull a goal back, they were caught on the counter-attack, and Mbappe curled in the goal of the night with his third. The second leg takes place on the 20th of March in Paris, by which time PSG hope to have Neymar back from a thigh injury to face his former side. And Sevilla take on Borussia Dortmund at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan Stadium tonight in the UEFA Champions League Round 16. The two teams have experienced eventful European campaigns so far and will want to win this game. Sevilla have enjoyed an excellent La Liga campaign so far and find themselves in the top 4 in the league table after a series of impeccable results. Borussia Dortmund have blown hot and cold in the Bundesliga this season and will need to hit a purple patch to extend their run in the UEFA Champions League. The German outfit was held to a draw by Hoffenheim in its previous match and cannot afford to slip up in this fixture. Well, that's all as far as sports news is concerned at this hour. Back to Shreya for the rest of the news.
Thanks, Rukma, for all those inputs from the world of sports. And now it's time for our next segment, which is Live Prime, where we get you some interesting stories from across the world. All right, this is our segment Live Prime, where we'll be getting you about the Tehri Lake Festival, which is being organized by the Uttarakhand Tourism. Let's have a look on the experience that the festival, through a mesmerizing visuals that we have for you every year. Remember, Uttarakhand Tourism organizes the Tehri Lake Festival, where one can rejuvenate. It is the much awaited festival, which is usually filled with water sports and cultural events, where one can experience the thrills of boating, jet skiing, banana rides, water skiing, surfing, canoeing, river rafting, paragliding and other performances. And on that note, it's a wrap in Midday Prime, but news and updates continue on the other side on DD India. You have a good day ahead. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.